So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, we will be discussing Indian Express and important news of the day. So basically, the most important news of today is that yesterday we have seen that UPSC's result has been out. So congratulations to all of those people who has found their name in the list. Okay, so before going ahead, I would like to tell you that Drishti IAS has given 240 plus selection this time from our different batches and different courses. So stay tuned with us for your own preparation. We'll assure you that there will be very fruitful results for you too. Okay, so let's start with our discussion of the day. We'll start with the practice question which was given to you in the previous class, and before that I'll tell you the outline of the discussion. Today we'll be discussing certain factors which are related to your biggest strike which has happened in Bastar. When we are talking about this particular area, Bastar, Jagdalpur, Sukama, all these areas are basically, you can say, left wing extremism affected areas, or you can say Naxal affected areas. Okay, so we'll be talking about that issue of Naxal, and then we'll see what government can do about it and what was the recent news. We will also have a look at that. Okay, then panel on issues of queer community, or when we are talking about LGBTQIA plus and so on, all those people who identify themselves in a different way, or we will talk about them. We will see how Supreme Court in one verdict has talked about a panel to be constituted by the government, and that panel has been constituted, and ultimately we will be talking about the constitution of that panel and what will be the objective of that particular panel. Okay, then Supreme Court rejects ballot paper. So basically there was this petition in the Supreme Court regarding the you can say there are chances of malfunctioning in the EVMs, and in that particular matter the petitioner has come up with an alternative idea. They said that we can go back to the ballot paper. So Supreme Court has said something about it. We will talk about that as well. Then around the world we will see one or two news. There was nothing much because we have discussed the Middle East issue yesterday in a very with all the aspect of the Middle East issue has been discussed yesterday. So we will not go into details of all those things, but there is small interesting thing that has happened in Oman. So we will talk about that. Then for your own read, there will be one article and practice question for your prelims. Okay, here you can see the front page of our today's newspaper. The biggest strike in Bastar, 29 Maoists killed in the forest firefight ahead of the vote. Okay, so we will see what was this issue in detail, and then when we are talking about the Supreme Court rejects the return of ballot paper, poses questions on EVM counting process, etc. So we will see this particular article as well. Okay, so let's start with the practice question which was given to you in the previous lecture. So here it is. Which of the following country does not have boundary with Red Sea? When we are talking about Red Sea, that has been in news for various reasons. Okay, and when we are talking about this Middle East region, that is kind of unstable nowadays, and because of which it becomes highly important for your prelims examination. Okay, or map related word I would say. Other than that, most important infrastructure projects which are passing through this particular area, most of the project where India has their own interest, all these things will be important for your discussions, for your prelims point of view. Okay, now talking about Red Sea, here you can see there are boundaries which are given of the Red Sea. One is your Egypt, then we have Sudan, Eritrea, Ethiopia. Okay, there is this Djibouti. Okay, then Yemen, Saudi Arabia. Okay, so these are the places. Okay, other than that, here we have Jordan, we have Israel. This is Sinai Peninsula of Egypt only. Okay, so these are the basically you can say countries which have boundary with Red Sea. Okay, now when we are talking about this particular area, you know that this is Gulf of Aqaba. Okay, this is Sinai Peninsula. We have Gaza Strip here, we have Rafah crossing here. Other than that, also Syria, Golan Heights, West Bank, all these territories would be important for you. Okay, now coming to the question here, Egypt has a boundary, Saudi Arabia has a boundary, Yemen has a boundary, but when we are talking about Iran, Iran does not have a boundary with Red Sea. Okay, now coming to the first article of the day, that is related to your left wing extremism affected areas in India. Senior Maoist believed to be among dead, 3 security men are injured. Okay, so there after a long time there has been a bigger strike wherein nearly 29 Maoist has been killed, and this particular incident, this particular operation has happened just before the votings. You know that in the voting times there are chances that there will be risk of life to the people who are going over there, because when we are talking about this problem of Naxals, this problem is basically of development. This is a problem of developmental disparity. Okay, now these people has come up with their own ideology that is closely related to Maoism, and they are trying to overthrow the state. Okay, whenever state is trying to build any kind of infrastructure or any development activities there, so they will try to overthrow that as well. Okay, so that there is no connectivity, there is no if there is no connectivity, mobilization of the troops will not be very easy. All these factors are basically related to one thing, that is this area has been poorly developed or least developed in when we are talking about India. Now, most of the people who are living in this particular area belongs to tribal communities, etc. We will see what is the issue. So let's first have a look at this particular article. At least 29 Maoists were killed and security personnel were injured. 3 security personnel were injured in a gun battle in the forest of Kanker district of the Bastar division in Chhattisgarh. Okay, so this has happened somewhere here in the Kanker district, that is Chhattisgarh. Okay. Then we have Bastar, that is in Chhattisgarh. Other than that, when we are talking about the left wing, impacted areas, the most important names are Sukama, Jagdalpur, okay, and this Bastar, etc. Okay, and other than that, we will see what states are affected by this. Okay. Now, this was the highest number of the Maoist casualties in the single operation in the Bastar region. Now, you can say the Home Minister has said that they are determined to squash off Naxalism from this particular area. Okay. Now let's see what is the you can say numbers which are telling about this particular area. Here you can see when we are talking about with respect to 2009-10 and 2021. Okay. So there has been decline in the number of incidents of left wing extremism violence has declined from nearly more than 2000 to nearly 500 in recent years. Okay. Then when we are talking about the number of deaths due to this particular issue, there was more than 1000 deaths in 2010, and in 2021 there is 147. So we can say we have done a lot, we have achieved a lot in this region, but still there is a long way to go. When we are talking about the district-wise left-wing extremism violence, so earlier this district which was affected by the LWE, they were 96 district and now they are only 46. Okay, but still 46 district is a very high number. Okay, now Maoist killed in the state since 2019. So this is the number which is given. This was actually decreasing, and recently this particular incident which has happened, because of which this number has shot up remarkably. Now, when we are talking about the affected areas, here we can say that this is basically called red corridor, the left wing extremist affected area, that is basically your red corridor. When we are talking about red corridor, most affected regions are Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and parts of Andhra Pradesh, Odisha. Okay, so these are the places which are highly affected. Other than that, when we are looking at this particular area of Andhra Pradesh, this is also you can say moderately affected area in this particular region. And these areas which has been introduced, or you can say some element has been introduced recently in northeastern region as well. Okay, so this is basically your red corridor. Please remember that. Other than that, please remember these 3-4 states, this area of Jharkhand, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, and some parts of Madhya Pradesh as well as Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so please remember this particular region, and this is affected by the left wing extremism. Now coming to the issue as a whole, the term Naxalism is derived from its name of a village, that is Naxalbari in the West Bengal. So there was this particular village wherein they have started a local rebellion against the Jamindar of that particular area. Okay, so it originated as a rebellion against the local landlords who bashed peasant over land disputes. The rebellion was initiated in 1967. Okay, with the objective of rightful redistribution of land. Okay, so ultimately the issue was the distribution of wealth, distribution of land to working peasant under the leadership of Kanu Sanyal and Jagan Santhal. Okay, so please remember these two names. If you are writing an answer in mains, and if you are mentioning this name in this particular issue of Naxalbari, they will give you half an mark extra. So please remember these two names, that is Kanu Sayal and Jagan Santhal. Okay, now started in West Bengal, the movement has spread across the eastern India in less developed regions of Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh. When we are talking about these areas of Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, these are mostly tribal areas. So mostly there are issues related to land, issues related to distribution of resources, or you can say ownership of the resources. Okay, and because of which in this particular areas also this has actually spread. Now it is considered that the Naxal support Maoist political sentiments and ideology. As I told you, they have supported this ideology because when this particular issue was starting, initially they got support from external factors, external forces outside India. They have supported this, and because of which they have actually seen it as a opportunity wherein they can go with this particular ideology of Maoism. When we are talking about Maoism, generally it is related to you can say violent overthrow of state. So that is why this particular ideology they have adopted. Okay, Maoism is a form of communism developed by Mao Se-song. It is doctrine of capture state doctrine to capture state power through a combination of armed insurgency, mass mobilization, and strategic alliances. So basically, here you can say the armed insurgency is a part of it. Mass mobilization, you will try to put this or impose this ideology on the local people as well. Now when we are talking about the local people, since there is a less development, these people are quite vulnerable to such ideologies, because obviously they do not have anything to do. Other than that, employment rates are very poor, there is no source of income, or you can say livelihood, and that is why they fall into trap of such ideologies. Now moving further, what are the causes? First is tribal discontent. As I told you, the whole issue is of development, whole issue is of distribution of resources. When we are talking about the forest resources, the Forest Conservation Act 1980, okay, so that has taken away some rights of the forest dwelling tribal people over there. So this particular act deprives tribal who depends on the forest produce or for their living from even cutting a bark. So basically here we are talking about the forest produce, this natural resource. I told you this is about the resources. So this is a natural resource on which these tribals are basically you can say dependent on. Okay, ultimately because of this particular act, they were not allowed to go for falling of the trees, etc. And the ownership rights also has changed at that point of time. Then because of this, massive displacement of the tribal population has happened, because certain areas has been declared as forest, reserve forest, etc. And massive displacement of the people has happened from that particular area due to the development projects, mining operations, and the other reasons. Other reasons include this converting some places as a protected areas, etc. Okay, other than that also, when we are talking about Jharkhand and West Bengal area, you know that there is mining industry over there, because of which also they have been displaced from that particular area. Now easy target for Maoists, as I told you, this ideology has an element of mass mobilization, and ultimately these masses, these tribals, these poor people, peasants, these are basically soft targets. Okay, because of the less development and the less source of livelihood. Now such people who do not have any source of living are taken into Naxalism by Maoists. Maoists provide arms and ammunition and money to such people. Ultimately, in the initial years, because they were providing you the arms, they were providing you money, so because of which these people were supporting the ideology over there. Okay, and ultimately that is why state in the initial days failed to curb this Naxalism over there. Okay, but after that there is certain things which we will discuss. Then gaps in the socio-economic system of the country. The government measuring its success on the basis of number of violent attacks rather than the development done in the national affected areas. So initially, as I told you, what they used to do is they used to go for let's say if they want to see an indicator, they used to rely on number of incidents that has happened in that particular area. Okay, so let's see, in one particular area they have sanitized the area, or they have done some kind of operation, and then the number of attacks, LWE attacks, has decreased, so we have considered it as a success. But the real problem is that even though there was a success, a little bit success in the number of you can say reduced number of violent activities, then government did not do anything to build infrastructure over there. They did not go for any kind of connectivity project, etc. So ultimately, when and when they got the opportunity to put a strong hold in that particular region, they have came back in that particular area. So that was one thing, that government has not gone for the development in that particular area. Absence of strong technical intelligence to fight with the Naxalites. As I told you, in the initial days, what was the issue? These local masses were supporting these groups. So ultimately there was no local support, or you can say intelligence, on these people, and that was another you can say gap. Now infrastructural problems, as I told you, since these people were quite prominent over there, so if government is going for, if at all government is going for any kind of building of schools, police stations, or any kind of roads, so they made sure that these do not work. They made sure that they attack the police stations, they attack the schools, they tried to put some shelling, etc. on the roads. Ultimately they did not want that this particular area get connected, because earlier it started with the matter of right, a matter of development, but again then it became a power game. Okay, so that is why these infrastructure problems were always there. Now no follow up from the administration. Let's say there was this particular area wherein this particular area was Naxal affected. Okay, there is a police chowki. Now they have sent a team, they have sanitized this particular area. Now they did not made any kind of chalky over here to make sure that they do not come and settle in that particular area again. Okay, so ultimately there was no follow up taken by the administration, and because of which once you are out of this particular place, they will come and settle again over here. Then confusion over tackling the Naxalism as a social issue or security threat. Now the thing is, these are our own people, so that can be a social issue of development. Then when I told you there are some external factors, external forces has also been involved at one point of time, because of which that was also a security threat. Other than that also, when we are looking at a group which is going for the armed rebellion, that is basically a security threat. Okay, so ultimately there is a confusion between the government whether should we treat them our own people and go what kind of approach they should take with respect to them, or otherwise we can treat as a security threat. Okay, so now that is a challenge in front of government. State government consider Naxalism as a issue of central government, so they do not take any steps. Okay, because obviously whenever it comes to a problem of national security, it is a matter of center. But then again, this is also a matter of development. So state government should also take some initiative in that regard. Okay, now we can move further. We can see what are the steps which has been taken by the government. That is Operation Green Hunt. In 2010, they have come up with this particular operation. There were 223 districts which were affected, and after this particular operation, recently you can say that this number has come down to 90. And then afterwards, recently I have seen I have given some data over here. This number has decreased to 46. Okay, so ultimately before this operation, this number was more than 200. Okay, then it was 90, and now it is nearly 45, 46. Okay, so that is Operation Green Hunt was a success. Now relief and rehabilitation policies for bringing Naxalite into mainstream. Now government has taken into the consideration, and they have seen that this is an issue of development. Okay, and now they have seen that once we let's say we sanitize a particular village, we have to make sure that the people of that particular village, they connect with the government, they connect with the administration over there. Okay, for them. And other than that, all those people who has somehow fall into traps of this Naxalism, so ultimately if they are ready to surrender, they have this relief and rehabilitation policies by the government itself. Okay, so that is a positive step. Then we have aspirational district programs. We have seen aspirational district program, we have then village development programs, block development programs. All these programs has been launched in 2018 and later on as well. It aims to rapidly transform the district that have shown relatively lesser progress in the key social areas. So these are the areas which have shown relatively lesser progress, and that is why this program is quite prominent in helping reviving this particular sector. Now, continuous efforts of the government to reduce the frequency of the violent attacks in the Naxal affected regions. That is one thing. We have seen this particular operation, and that is for the thing that so that elections can be ensured in a very peaceful manner. Then Andhra police rose greyhounds, a special force to deal with the Naxalism in the state. So that is an example wherein state can also take initiative with that regard. Okay. Now, what is the change in the strategy? Previous government, when we are talking about the UPA government, so in that government and the current government, what is the change in the strategy? Here you can see we have an integrated multi-pronged approach, the effective operations and the better interstate operations against the banned CPI Maoists. Second is development. First, they are going for the integrated approach. Second is that they are taking developmental approach, connecting internal you can say areas by roads, bridge, mobile networks, so that people in the interiors are connected to the outside world. Okay, they are trying to bring these people into the mainstream. Okay, then they are having this access to the basic services. Third is community outreach to clear the wrong perception created by the Naxal, who project us as a you can say exploiter of, or you can say these Naxal people, or you can say these Maoist people, they project government as a institution of exploitation. Okay, when we are talking about the communism, when we are talking about the Marxism, so in that particular theory, we say that state is the instrument of capital class. Okay, capitalist class, and ultimately they are saying the same thing, that capitalist class, or you can say a class which is thriving on the profit ultimately exploit the weaker section. Okay, so here the Naxal people are putting this ideology in mind of these people for the mass mobilization, saying that the state is with the capitalist class, they are with the developed people, and that is why they are exploiting these areas. Okay, and we are trying now, government is trying to take away that narrative, that discourse. They are trying to make sure that people feel more connected to the state, they see how state is working for their own development. Okay, so these are some steps which has been taken by, you can say, the government in that particular aspect. And now when we are talking about certain suggestions, you can say government needs innovative solution for locating armed groups. Okay, so that is related to your surveillance, to make sure that you find where these people are, and then you can take certain actions. Because when we are talking about this topography, as I told you, this is mostly in Jharkhand, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh area. Mostly you will find some kind of hilly areas as well as the forest areas in this particular area. So ultimately knowing the topography is quite difficult, and when we are talking about the reserve forces etc., which are coming from the outside, they have less idea about the topography. But these Naxal people, they are locals and they have high more idea about the topography. That is an advantage to them. But ultimately they are saying that we have to come up with the innovative solution to locate these people and to know the topography better. Now local police knows the language and the topography of the region, it can fight Naxalism better than the armed forces. As I told you, these armed forces are coming from outside. So now you can go for the special task force of these local police, because they know the topography of their own place, because they are from that particular area. Now government needs to ensure two things. One is the security of the peace loving people. No doubt there are people who are educated, who are having access to the services, who knows that government is basically working for them. So ultimately there are people who are peace loving, so we should provide a security for those people, and development of the Naxal affected regions. Okay, as I told you, this whole issue is of development. Ultimately you have to go for the security and the development. State government needs to understand that Naxalism is their problem also, and only they can tackle it effectively. They can take help from the central government if required. Okay, so that is basically, you can say, a way forward or suggestions, or you can say a conclusion. Okay, so that is about this particular topic which we have discussed in detail, and now we can move forward with the next topic. Okay, that is basically related to your center notifies a panel led by the cabinet secretary on issues of the queer community. Okay, so hold on. Now in October 2023 there was a Supreme Court verdict, that was Supriya versus Union of India. In that particular petition, what was asked is that, what was the prayer is that the queer community, or the people from the queer community, they should also be given the right to marry. Okay, but the thing is, at that point of time, Supreme Court said that we cannot give you that particular right as of now, because there was two, when we are talking about the whole judgment, there were minority judgment and there was majority judgment. Majority judgment said that we are not yet there to give you the right to marry. Okay, there are certain constraint, logistics, etc., which is another thing. We have discussed this particular, you can say, judgment in detail. So if you want to read for that, you can go through the playlist. There are thumbnails given, and in that you can find out. Okay. Now they have said that we cannot give you the right to marry as of now, but there was a minority judgment which said that when we are talking about marriage, there are some attached benefits. We are not saying that with marriage comes certain rights. Okay, if you want to make a ration card, or if you want to enter your name into a ration card, marriage is not necessary. But again, if you are married, then your spouse will automatically add it to the ration card if you apply for it. Okay, now they are saying that with the marriage there are certain benefits which are coming, and that benefit should be given to the queer community as well. Okay, and that was the prayer itself. Okay, but in that prayer they have asked for specifically right to marry. Okay, but then Supreme Court fell short of that, and they did not say that we will be going for the right to marry. But the thing is, the minority judgment said that there can be civil unions, or there will not be marriages, but all the benefits which are attached to a marriage will be given to, let's say, those people who are in a civil union. Okay, so basically they are giving a civil, or you can say legitimate status to the relationship of queer community. But again, this was a minority judgment, so ultimately it will not be effective. So that is another case about the civil union if you want to read. But ultimately the opinion of the minority, or you can say minority judges, the opinion was that there is a acknowledgement of these rights, that there is an acknowledgement of the discrimination that has been faced by the queer community. Okay. Regarding that, Supreme Court has at that point of time said that the government should make a panel which will actually dwell into the problems of the queer community, and they will recommend that what kind of services, what kind of benefits can be attached and can be given to this particular community. Okay, for that now this panel has come. Now coming to the discussion here, in line with the with an undertaking given 6 months ago when the Supreme Court declined to grant legal recognition to same-sex marriages, the Centre Tuesday notified a committee chaired by the Cabinet Secretary to examine the various issues relating to the queer community. So that is the objective of this particular panel, and it will be chaired by the Cabinet Secretary. Okay. Then this judgment, as I told you, 17 October 2023, Supriya versus Union of India. Central government to constitute a committee to be chaired by the Cabinet Secretary to examine the various issues of the queer community. That was the order or the directive which has been given by the Supreme Court to the central government. Now a 6-member committee has been formed comprising of the secretaries from the Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and Law Ministry. So that is the composition. That is the composition of this particular panel. There are 6 ministers, okay, and it will be chaired by the, or you can say headed by the Cabinet Secretary. On October 17, 5-judge Constitution bench on the Supreme Court led by the Chief Justice of India, that is D.Y. Chandrachud, declined to recognize the right to marry as a fundamental right for the same-sex couple, which we have already discussed that they have declined to give this fundamental right. Now, what is the minority opinion was that in favor of the civil unions. I have discussed what is civil unions. If you have, please go through this particular word again from internet or browse for a little bit, okay, so that you can have a better idea of it. Okay, now here you can see in a favor of civil unions, supporting short of marriage, stopping short of marriage to grant legal rights to the same-sex couple. Okay. Now they are talking about these legal rights which are attached to civil unions and not marriage. So you don't have to go for the marriage. You can avail those rights in the civil unions as well. It is civil unions and not joints. Okay. Then here you can say, although marriage itself does not give any right to the parties, it gives certain intangible benefits in the form of expressive advantage. As I told you, marriage certainly not give you any kind of right. If you are married, there is no provision that a person will get a particular thing because he is married. Okay, but the thing is, there are no doubt when we are living in a social structure where there are certain you can say intangible benefits which are attached to it. Like let's say if you are bachelors, or if let's say when we are talking about this homosexual couples or same-sex couples, now these are going for renting an apartment, that would be quite difficult. Okay. Now, if a married couple, heterosexual married couple, if they are going for renting an apartment, that will be easy, relatively easy, I would say. Okay, that is because there is some kind of, you can say, distinctions or you can say discrimination which is prevalent in the society because people are not yet ready for it. Okay, so that is why there is this particular panel which will be looking into the issues of this particular queer community. Okay, so although marriage itself does not give any right to the people, it gives certain intangible benefit in the form of expressive advantage, a bouquet of rights that a married couple can exercise. Okay, now for the right to have real meaning, the state must recognize a bouquet of entitlement which flows from the abiding relationship of this kind. Okay, now they are basically saying that to go for such things, there should be a bouquet or there should be a list of some rights which was to be attached with these civil unions here. A failure to recognize such entitlements would result in a systematic discrimination against the queer couples. Okay, so basically they are saying that if you are not giving these particular rights to queer couples, ultimately that is a systematic discrimination. Okay, now the community shall set out the scope of benefits which occurs to the such couples. Okay, they have actually Supreme Court has listed out some kind of you can say rights. The right of queer partners to be treated as the same part of the family for a ration card. Okay, so for the ration card, they will be considered as par with the other members. Setting up a joint bank account, jail visitations to be considered next of kin by a medical practitioner, assessing the body of deceased partner to arrange last rites. Okay, these are certain things which has been listed out by the Supreme Court. The top court also mentioned legal consequences of such succession rights, maintenance, finance benefits such as under the Income Tax Act 1961, rights flowing from the employment such as gratuity, family pensions, insurance, etc. Now they have given these particular rights, and they have actually mentioned the consequences of these rights as well. Okay, when we are talking about the legal consequences in the matter of successions, etc. So there are certain personal laws, there are other laws which are also working, which are having some kind of element of bias. So ultimately, Supreme Court said that this particular panel will also look into the consequences of such rights. Okay, so these are the things on which panel will have their report, and they will submit it to the central government. Okay, so I hope this is clear. This panel is based on the judgment of a Supreme Court or direction which was given by the Supreme Court. Okay, so there is this comment, how can I get the PDF? Okay, so we have a link of our Telegram channel in our description, so you can get the PDF from there. Okay, now moving further. Next is related to Supreme Court rejects return to ballot paper, poses questions on the EVM's counting process. So ultimately, there is this NGO, that is ADR, Association for Democratic Reforms. This NGO has gone along with other people, they have gone to the court, and they have said that the when we are talking about the EVMs, okay, EVMs have this element that they are basically having programmable chips, and these programmable chips are basically, they can be hacked. Okay, so they can go for the malfunction. So ultimately, they said that since there is this element of malfunctioning, so there are chances that there can be a malfunctioning. Again, they have not said that here. They have said, we are not saying that EVMs are being manipulated or have been manipulated. We are saying that what we are saying is that EVMs can be manipulated because both EVM as well as VVPAT, okay, voter verified paper audit trail, okay, so have a programmable chip, and since there is a programmable chip, there are chances that it can go for the malfunctioning. Okay, so what kind of alternative they have given? They have said that we used to go for the paper ballot. Okay, so ultimately, if you logically think, paper ballot, going for a paper ballot in a country like India, like which is having nearly 140 crore of people, it is a huge task. Okay, first of all. Second of all, logistics cost will increase to a very large factor. Now the thing is, again, going to the ballot paper, we know that we have used the ballot paper, there were issues, and that is why we have gone for the EVMs, and again we are going for the ballot paper. That is what Supreme Court has said, that don't you remember the days when there was ballot paper, there was booth capturing, there was very there was violence which were attached to the elections at that point of time. Okay, so ultimately Supreme Court has said that they are not in favor of ballot papers. So let's see. Dismissing the idea of return of ballot paper era, the Supreme Court Tuesday questions petitioner who raises doubt on the sanctity of voting through EVMs, with judge stating that they have not yet forgotten what used to happen when votes were cast through ballot paper. Okay, NGO Association for Democratic Reforms seeking 100% verification of EVM votes with VVPAT slips. So basically, what is happening when we are talking about this VVPAT slips? So as of now, they are not going for the 100% verification. What they are doing is that they are randomly taking 4 or 5 VVPATs from a particular constituency. Randomly, they are taking 5 machines and they are checking it. Okay. Now they are verifying these 5 machines, and if they are working fine randomly, then we are assuming that every other machine is working fine. Okay. Now opposition and some NGOs are saying that you should go for the 100% verification. Again, if you are going for the 100% verification, the same thing is there. You have to again go for the, you have EVM, you have gone through the humongous process of elections, and again you are there and you are going for the 100% of the verification. So that is also having a logistical challenges, and that is not viable option. Okay. So that is what they have been asking in the this particular petition. Here you can say petition for 100% verification of EVM votes with VVPAT slips is being heard at the time when the Lok Sabha election process is underway. The opposition has been asking questions about the foolproof nature of the EVM. Some have even suggested a return to the ballot paper. 5 EVMs are randomly verified against VVPAT slips as per assembly segment, or you can say constituency. Now this is the problem. Now we will see what Supreme Court has said. The Supreme Court of India is hearing a petition related to sanctity of voting through electronic voting machine, that is EVM. Petition seeks 100% verification, which we have already seen. Petitioners expressed concern about the EVM's potential to get manipulated or suggested alternative such as return to the ballot papers. Okay. The bench emphasized the logistical challenges are there. Okay, logistical challenges, because we are a largest democracy, there are many voters. Okay, so we cannot go for paper ballot again now. conducting elections with paper ballot. Judges question the source of data presented by the petitioner and state the need to trust the system and the accountability. Okay. Now the thing is, what data they have presented, court was not satisfied with that. The Supreme Court is seeking further data from the Election Commission regarding the discrepancy in the counting of VVPAT slips and EVMs. Now court indicated that more than concrete data is needed to assess the reliability of the EVM and any possible discrepancy in the voting outcomes. Okay, so basically whatever data has been given to the court by the NGO, they are not satisfied with that. They have asked for data from the ECI as well. Okay, and they have said that the concrete data, more than concrete data, is required to question on the sanctity of EVMs. Okay, now we can move further to the next article that is related to when we are talking about rupee, we are going for the internationalization of rupee. At that particular point of time, now recently we have seen that rupee is weakened when we are comparing with the dollar. And why it has happened? Because of certain things that is related to global conflict, that is your Israel Hamas issue, second Israel Iran issue. Okay, other than that also there are various issues like Russia Ukraine issues. These are geopolitical issues which are going over there. That is, one is global conflict, second is FPI outflow. Now why FPI outflow is happening? So there are two reasons. One is that US has delayed the rate cuts. When we are talking about the rate cuts in US, so how it is hampering India's FPI flows. So basically when we see there is a high rate of interest. Okay, so if in US the interest given is high, so people will invest in US itself. They will not go for other options. Okay, so recently US has delayed the rate cuts. Okay, so that is why people are still investing in US. Once there will be, you can say, decrease in the interest rates, or you can say yield of these bonds will decrease, then they can come to other country. Okay, so that is one reason. Since USA's interest rates are kind of relatively high, so people are going over there for the investments. So that is one thing. Second thing is, they actually these US or the people in the USA are investing domestically, and they are not going for the destinations like India. So that is one thing. Second thing is India Mauritius double taxation avoidance agreement. Okay, we have talked about this particular agreement. Now because of this particular agreement, what will happen is that there will be a you can say a purpose which has been attached. If there is a particular transaction which has happened for the purpose of getting the benefits out of the transaction, then at that transaction there will not be given any kind of rebates, or you can say any kind of benefits on the duties. Okay, so ultimately when we are talking about this particular test which has been attached to it, that they will scrutinize the purpose. Okay, so because of which there are people who are skeptical about going for the investment in India. So ultimately because of which this FPI is getting out of the country, or you can say there is a FPI outflow. Okay, so because of which ultimately dollar is being strengthened. Okay, when there is a global conflict, you know that supply chain will disrupt, and ultimately for buying products such as oil, etc., trade is done in dollars, and that is why the demand of dollars has increased. And if demand of dollar has increased, and ultimately that you can say that dollar has strengthened, so relatively you will say that rupees has been actually depreciated. Okay, so that is what has happened. So because of the global conflicts, FPI outflow is there. Rupee hits record low at 83.54 per dollar. Okay, here you can say the sell off by the FPI, that is FPI outflow, due to the expectations of delay in the interest rate cut by the USA Federal Reserve, and also recent amendment in the India-Mauritius tax treaty raised concern for the greater scrutiny on the investment, which we have seen. Second is rise in the conflict between Iran and Israel, demand for the greenback. When we are talking about this greenback, greenback are nothing but basically your dollars. Okay, please remember that they can confuse you with this particular word. When we are talking about greenbacks, this is nothing but the dollars, because ultimately when this the note of the dollar has come as a legal tender, at that point in time the back side of dollar was green, and that is why it is called greenback. Okay, so don't get confused with that. Now demand for the dollar has increased, and because since demand of the dollar has increased, rupee has depreciated. So that is about this particular article. Okay, now This article is not related to the data. I will not discuss the data because the thing is data will keep changing. The thing is, what I wanted to tell you is that there is a relation between the US's interest rate and ultimately FPIs in India. So if interest rate in USA is high, so people will go for investment over there. They will invest domestically and they will not go for the any other kind of destinations. Okay. So ultimately that is the relation between the FPIs and you can say US interest rates. Okay. Now around the world there has been one interesting thing which has happened at Dubai, or you can say Oman. Okay. So they are facing large rains. Okay. So that is one thing. Let's see. The heavy rains lashed out in UAE on Tuesday, flooding out portions of major highways, leaving vehicles abandoned on the roadway across Dubai. Meanwhile, the death toll in separate heavy flooding in neighboring Oman has rose to 18, with other still missing at the, that is what is happening. Basically, there are rains in Dubai, there are floods in Oman. Now, this is a very rare phenomena. No doubt there are rains, but the thing is that since there are very arid regions, so their rains are very limited over there. That is nearly 12 centimeters, okay, or 120 mm. Now they have seen such rains when we are talking about this particular thing. That is an average of a typical average of a year, but they have seen this rain in just one evening. Okay, so that is an important factor, and because of which they can ask you about Oman as well as Dubai. So please remember this particular area becomes important. They can ask you about the impacts of the climate change, the reasons of this particular things. If they are covering in the newspaper, we will discuss, but in this article reasons has not been given. They have just talked about the phenomena. We will discuss the reason if and when they will show it in the newspaper. Okay, so here you can see the world's busiest international travel, that is that flights from the Dubai International Airport is the busiest one, and they have gone for the suspension of certain operations because of the weather issues. By the evening, over 120 millimeters, that is 4.5 inches of rainfall has soaked the city, the typical average for a year in desert nation, with more expected in coming hours. Okay, so basically they are still expecting there will be more rains. Okay, rain is unusual in UAE, an arid region, Arabian Peninsula nations, but occurs periodically during the cooler winter months. Okay, so rain here is because of the this particular phenomena, that is western disturbances, and ultimately in the winter months they will see some kind of rains over there. Many roads and other areas lack drainage given the lack of regular rainfall, causing the flooding. Okay, so since they are not expecting rain as frequent, so ultimately they have not gone for such development of the drainage areas, and ultimately that is why floods are happening over there. Okay, now coming to the last part, that is for your own read. There is this article in the explain session, very small article and very interesting. You can say Indian origin Gopi Thotakur. Basically he is heading to the space. What is space tourism? So you can go and give it a read, that, and please remember this particular name. Okay, so who is this person and why he is going to space, what is space tourism, that has been given in very simple words. You can go through it and read it on your own. Now last section of the day, that is related to your prelims practice question. Recently a term Iron Dome has been in the news, the context of which which of the following country? USA, Russia, North Korea or Israel? So you have to choose the correct option and reply in the comment box. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Again, those who are selected, very congratulations, and those who have not make it to the list this time, so please get inspired from the success stories of these people. There are people who has actually done it with the hard work of many years, so don't lose hope. Continue your preparations. Okay, and I hope you are preparing for your prelims well. It is around the corner now. You can watch our series, that is Target UPSC Prelims 2024. Other than that, if you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.